hear me good? I need y'all to work with me. Y'all can hear me, right? Okay. I know y'all aren't silent by no means. So, good afternoon, everyone. Are you happy to be here? Let's try it again. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you so much to the Broome Tioga NAACP, all of the performers, speakers that are here today, all of our electeds that are here, Binghamton Councilwoman Aviva Friedman and Council Member Angela Riley for Binghamton City Council. They do a lot of great work. It's okay, absolutely, please give them a round of applause. I don't miss any other electeds in the room, because I'll hear about it later. So I wanted to lift up the NAACP. I'm a little partial. I've been a member of NAACP for a very long time, and it's just thinking about the work and the significance of the U.S. Largest and long-standing civil rights organization here in Broome County, Broome Tioga chapter. We've been a chapter for over 100 years. And so recently we celebrated our centennial, and a lot of the things that we, in doing some research, the NAACP has a legacy of advancing not only civil rights, but human rights. Most certainly justice in all shape, form, and fashion. And so I want to thank the NAACP for all of the great work that it does, seen and unseen, to ensure that our region it has a better quality of life for multiple generations of community members. And so I was asked today to speak on this theme of life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And so we all have gathered today, as we do every year, on this special occasion to lift up the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so as I was thinking about what did I want to offer on this particular quote that is most certainly quoted quite often, I wanted to think about, so what can I offer that could be of significance? And so I love history. I'm not a historian though, but I am a student of history. So I want to kind of put those disclaimers out there. And so I always like to understand the context, like what was happening at the time when these moments, these notable moments were occurring. And so in doing some research, I found that this particular quote was a part of a sermon that Dr. King was delivering in Montgomery, Alabama. And this happened on August 11th, 1957. Wow. Now, this is the summertime in Alabama, so you know it was hot, okay? But the issues that were at hand, the stakes that were at hand were even hotter, because this is right on the heels of the Montgomery bus boycotts that happened a few years prior. And so Dr. King was delivering a sermon at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. Now, this is still during the time of Jim Crow and segregation. The church was one of the few churches that people of color can actually go to in the South. He was the pastor of this church for 6 years, and he organized the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott from his office in the basement of the church. I also think it's important to note that he strongly encouraged his congregation to take an active role in addressing civic and social problems. Two of his members, Joanne Robinson and Rufus Lewis, were among the first people to become critical players in the Montgomery bus boycott. He also insisted that every church member become a registered voter and a member of the NAACP. Now, this is what the research shows. This is not me being biased. This is what Dr. King has said, and I think we should follow suit. And organized within the church a social and political action committee, which was designed to keep the congregation intelligently informed on the issues of the day, whether it was social, political, or economic issues. And so this sermon that he was preaching this day was lifting up the challenges of self-centeredness and ego and the need to conquer those things. And so the ideas behind this quote was something that was prominent in all the things that he did. This idea of giving back to others. And he challenged the parishioners of the church to dig deeper. And so I wanted to share a larger piece of that quote. He said, every person must decide at some point whether they will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. He also went on to say, this is the judgment, that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So now this is the portion of my talk where I'd like to have a little back and forth, because we know we go to programs, we hear people talk at us, but I want us to commune together. Is that all right, y'all?
Yeah. Sure.
Is that okay?
Yep.
So here's what I want you to do, and y'all have heard this expression before. If you could, turn to your neighbor. I'm gonna give you the instruction first, okay? Stay with me, I have a purpose in this, okay? If you could turn to your neighbor, the person right next to you, and I want you to think of one thing that you do for others. This could be your family, friends, co-workers, larger community, and I want you to share that one thing with the person next to you. And you literally have 2 minutes. That's 1 minute per person. So share the mic, y'all. Okay? Are y'all clear on the instructions? Share one thing you do for others. For someone to share, what is that one thing that they do for others? You can, okay, I'll go right here.
Serve at a diaper drive.
Serve at a diaper drive. All right. Absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Take another example here in the middle. Anyone, share one thing that you do for others. Yes.
I work in harassment at foster grandmas.
All right. Amen. Beautiful. That's our hand in the back, this gentleman. Pray.
Yeah.
Absolutely necessary and important. Absolutely. Thank you all for doing that. And the reason why I wanted to do this specifically, wanted to make sure y'all was awake. But more importantly, we often give in ways that people will never see. But we don't do it for the fame or for the claim, right? It's really for the purpose, and that is what makes us human, and that is what makes us powerful people, is doing that work that is often unseen and, quite frankly, often thankless. But we do it anyway because it is the right thing to do. And so with this quote that Dr. King, this challenge that he gave to his parishioners on that day in Alabama, it was something that we all try to ascribe to in some shape, form, or fashion. And it also lifts up that you don't need a title to be able to give. Right? And so when thinking about this idea further, another thought that came to me is that we always come together, and it's important to commemorate the birth of Dr. King. And I want to lift up that he was a revolutionary. He was an unapologetic truth teller. In fact, the year before he was assassinated, there was a poll that was done, and not too many people were in favor of his words and his actions, what he was inspiring people to do. But he was an unapologetic truth teller, and I say that Again, because when you think about the work that needs to be done, not just in our community, not just in our state, in our country, in our world, it is not pretty. But it is necessary to tell the truth about the indignities that people experience every single day unnecessarily due to policies and politics, okay? And so people aspire for justice in hope of changing the condition for all humans, but especially marginalized community members. He was someone in his short lifetime, through vision, passion, and commitment, helped to change the course of our modern history through fighting for change on all levels, whether it was at the individual, or at the personal level, or at the institutional and systemic levels. So now my question is, how do we change the community? How do we change our society? And as I thought about these questions and offering this to you all to consider, one way is through service to others. And when you think about how you felt in sharing that one thing that you do for others, right? How did that make you feel? Did it make you feel good? Right? It probably brought to mind things you hadn't even thought about in a long time, right? And that is the power in doing for others. It's very powerful, and it is one of the tools that we have that can help us to achieve many great things. Some of those things include, but not are limited to, fairness over inequality, respect over degradation, humility over selfishness, change over stagnation, light over darkness. All of these decisions are key components in changing our community, society, because what we put into it is what we get out of it. And they also determine how bright our lights can shine, for it is when we choose to give to others, this allows us to truly fulfill our life's purpose. So as I close my remarks, I wanted to offer some other things for your consideration. My hope is for the elders in our community that have been doing this good work for a very, very long time. There's a lot of institutional knowledge and experience. When you think about the work of Dr. King, that wasn't that long ago, right? And the issues that he was fighting to address, we're still fighting this day, right? So it means it's still relevant. That means we need you, the elders in our community, and it's not simply enough to pass the torch from one individual to another. It is imperative that we ignite the torches of many so that our lights can truly shine as bright as the sun. And to the youth of our community, with all the odds and obstacles that you have been presented with in your life thus far, and I said thus far because you still have a long ways to go. The cards that you may have been dealt, don't just simply settle for it. Change the rules of the game and choose now to beat the odds and turn the system inside out. I want us all to remember that this fight for justice is not simply meant as a reflection for today. We do this for our children and their children to have a better quality of life. This is an active pursuit, not a spectator sport. I want to make that very clear. Not just on MLK Day, but as one of our great leaders, Shirley Chisholm, said, and the good Senator, service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. And so, the last thing, you know how the pastor said, I'm gonna leave you one final word and then do another one? I always, there are three closes, this is number two. I always like to have mantras. These are things that I hope will not only inspire others, but these are things that I try to live up to myself. And so in thinking about this idea of service to others, I thought maybe a nice acronym would kind of help us to further contextualize this or bring it home, so to speak. So I came up with this acronym, SERVE. Okay? So the S stands for strategize. Strategize on how we continue to strengthen and advance equity and justice in New York State and also across the country. E, educate. Let us continue to educate ourselves on the full legacies of our civil rights leaders and all champions for justice, not just on special days. We must also build awareness on the policies and practices and institutional gatekeepers that reinforce systemic barriers. R, remember, reflect on your history so that you can understand the present and help to change the future. V, valuable, you are needed and important, and there will be a lot of things, a lot of people that will try to tell you differently all the time. However, know that you deserve to be seen and heard. And lastly, E, empower. Let us commit to lifting each other up and lead with empathy so that we can continue the journey for justice, this fight for civil and human rights. And as your state senator, but more importantly, as a community partner with all of you, I commit to serve, and I encourage you to join me in doing the same thing. So do you all commit to serve?
Yes.
Do y'all commit to serve?
Yes.
All right. Thank you again to the Broome NAACP for allowing me to speak with you all today, and I look forward to supporting the great work that everyone does to make our community better. Thank you all so much.